Hey y'all. So I wanted to get a quick review out for all of you. And I know it's been a while. I'm a little late on this, but it's okay because there's really nothing coming out until this weekend. That's a little tease for a review. You probably know what it is, but hey, I'm just trying to be interesting. Anyways, so Miss Marvel wrapped up a week ago, and I've seen the whole show, all 6 episodes, and I want to talk about it. I know it's taken me a while to make this review, but I've actually filmed this review quite a few times, but I can't. I'm trying to come. I'm trying to like really get my thoughts. I'm trying to like piece them together in my mind because my thoughts on this show are a little weird. So, Miss Marvel. First off, I want to say that I like Kamala Khan a lot as a character. I think she's one of the better Marvel characters that have been introduced in recent years, and I think that I I, I was really excited to see her in this show because I was really hoping that this would be a Marvel show with more of a slice of life kind of feel to it, kind of like the comics. And let's just go through this show. Let's just do this. So, episode 1 and 2, I'm kind of lumping those two together. I like those episodes a lot. I thought they were really fun. They had a lot of visual flair to them, and I loved. I'm so sorry. I know I'm gonna. I'm sorry if I pronounce her name wrong. Veyani. I thought she was great. I thought she really did a great job as Kamala Khan. I thought the writing on her character was a little not bad, but it was different because in the comics Kamala is a lot more responsible than she is in the show. But I wasn't really mad at that. I was just kind of like, okay, this is how they're doing it. What that's fine. That's totally cool with me. So, um but I really liked this show for just like it just felt like you're just watching this character's life. It doesn't feel like you're watching some big grand story. I like that it was just about like, hey, here's her life and here's what she does. And now she has this new thing coming into her life that she has to deal with. And I was kind of hoping the whole show would be like that. So I really liked the first 2 episodes. I loved the visuals. There was a lot of like Scott Pilgrim, like I know Scott Pilgrim's not the only thing to do it, but there were a lot of stuff like that in the show. A lot of really cool visual ways of telling the story. I love how they had a lot of the text messages. They would like blend in with the environments. I thought that was really well done. And overall, I thought it was like cute. I'm like, this is nice. This is cool. I'm enjoying this. And then, like episode 1 has a scene where she goes to Avenger Con, just like in the comics. I don't want to compare this too much to the comics because it's its own story, but she goes to Avenger Con and she goes dressed as Captain Marvel, and eventually shit goes down and she has to use her powers to save people. By the way, her powers are different than they originally are. Um, we'll get to that in the finale. We'll get to how I feel about what they did with her powers when I get to the finale. But anyways, really enjoyed the first episode and the second episode. There's a scene in I believe episode 2 where she gets home after talking to this guy she likes, and she's just kind of vibing. She's just kind of dancing as she's walking around her house. She's just really in a good mood, and the lighting is really neat, and she's just vibing. She's having a good time, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see characters just be characters. You know what I mean? Like sometimes in Marvel shows, I just want to see characters just like I don't need a huge plot. I don't need them to go up against a villain. I kind of just want to see them just fucking hang out. You know what I mean? Like Tom Holland said, he said that what if they made a Spider-Man movie where it was just about the Peter Parker stuff? Like it was just a cute little college movie where he happens to be Spider-Man. Like I'm like, you know, that doesn't sound like that bad of an idea. Like I like that, and I like that Miss Marvel was. It felt like it could have been like it didn't have. You could take the superhero stuff out of it, and you'd still have a pretty decent show. You know what I mean? And the superhero stuff was just the cherry on top. And again, even though Kamala's character is a lot different, I still love what they did with her. I really liked her family. In episode 3, there's a wedding scene, and then there's a whole musical. Not it's not really a musical number. It's just sort of a big dance party scene, and that's a lot of fun. I like that, right? And then there's a fight scene, which is, it's neat, it's interesting. It's not one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen or anything, but it's fine. Unfortunately, episode 3 is where the show kind of disappointed me. Episode 3, 4, and 5 are about the villains of this show, and they're called the Jinn, and they are terrible villains. They are some of the worst Marvel villains, at least MCU villains that we've seen in a while. They're not very interesting, and there's a whole episode dedicated to her backstory, and I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but it was just kind of like, okay, this is Kamala's story, and it doesn't really feel like it. I don't know. I think the issue with me was that I just didn't find the plot, what Kamala was trying to do, like what was like. I didn't find the actual story once we get into the whole lore of the villains. I just didn't find that nearly as interesting. I just kind of, I don't know. I enjoyed the first 3 episodes more, where it was more about Kamala and her life in Jersey and her family. I just like that stuff a lot more. Episode 5 still had some good stuff. Like, there were some nice scenes between Kamala and her mom and stuff. And, it was, I don't know, it was a mixed bag. Episode 4 was kind of the same. The stuff with the villains and all that, and the Bengals and all that lore, I didn't really care much for. I was just kind of like, whatever. But all the stuff where it was about Kamala and her grandma and her family and her mom, I was like, I love this. This is great. I don't know. I was really, really liking this show for the first 3 episodes. And then episode 4 and 5, I really wasn't feeling as much. And then we get to the finale, which people are kind of mixed on. I like the finale. I thought it was pretty decent. Some people say it got a little goofy, which I agree with. But I mean, it wasn't like, okay, yeah, it was goofy. It was really dumb. When they start shooting tennis balls at damage control, I was just kind of like, huh, that's a little dumb. But when in the finale, when the climax was up against damage control, basically, really, I mean, it's about, Kamran and all that shit. But I kind of thought to myself, I was like, maybe I would have liked this show better if it was about, like, keep the first 3 episodes the same, except for all the Bengals shit. And then, it's not that bad. I shouldn't be so mean. But maybe this show should have had, first off, I think it probably should have had a few more episodes. I think 6 episodes probably isn't enough for a season. I think for some shows it works, and for some it doesn't. Maybe I would have liked the show more if it was like a theme of the week kind of thing, where every episode Kamala would sort of learn how to use her powers and how to become a superhero, while also navigating the social part of her life with her friends and crushes and all that in high school. But then as the show goes on, maybe she makes a mistake. Maybe she accidentally gets some people around her hurt, and that causes damage control to come after her. And that would give Kamala a much better arc, I think, of having her learn to be a superhero and how to be more responsible. Because like I said, the Kamala in this show is not nearly as responsible as the Kamala in the show. By the way, if you're wondering what's on the TV, it's new Super Mario Brothers Wii by the Runaway Guys. I don't know why it's on, to be honest with you. Anyways, so the Runaway Guys is like one of the best channels ever. But anyways, yeah, Kamala. Yeah, maybe I would have liked that more. But as it stands, it's just kind of a generic superhero story. Oh, now damage control is after us because we have this guy who they want to take down, but he's our friend and we can't let them take him, even though he's kind of an asshole. I thought it was kind of funny how she just lets him go at the end. Like, I get it, he's her friend or whatever, but I mean, this guy, I don't know. I was just kind of like, fuck this guy, turn his ass in. But I guess that makes Kamala a better person than me. Okay. Yeah, the finale was interesting. I really love the moment where she really gets control of her powers and uses them to save everybody. I thought it was actually really interesting how they managed to give Kamala new powers, but also managed to tie in her powers from the comics and kind of morph them together. I thought that was pretty neat. Somebody pointed this out in a YouTube video that I thought was really interesting that I never thought of before, but Kamala's powers in the comics are sort of metaphor for like puberty. You know, your body's changing and all that. You know, her you know, she you know what I mean, her powers in the comics. It's kind of a metaphor for puberty, and they're not just your body changing, but your life changing as you get older. And I thought that was interesting. And the powers in the show are just kind of like, oh, it's just light powers now. You see what I mean? Like, I feel like they kind of traded a lot of the stuff from Kamala's character that I liked in favor of just typical Marvel superhero stuff with the plot and all that. And I don't know. Overall, I do feel a lot of disappointment with this show. I think it could have been something really interesting. It could have been like a nice little coming of age story. And it kind of was until it turned into a typical superhero, oh, I've got to save my city kind of thing. There was some stuff in this show I loved. Like, I loved how, like I said, the visuals, how they integrated the text messages and a lot of other stuff with the environment. I loved Kamala's character and the actress Iman Vellani's performance. I didn't really mind how goofy the show got, aside from a few bad lines. Like, the worst line in the show is when he tells her, he's like, "Come with me if you want to live." Just kidding. I've just always wanted to say that. It's like, come the fuck on. Like, that is such a cliche joke in movies and shows. Oh, they say something badass and they're like, huh, I always wanted to say that. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, they do literally the exact same joke. Literally the exact same joke in DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Ray Palmer tells somebody, "Come with me if you want to live." I've always wanted to say that. Hardy har. It's like, fucking come on, man. That was bad. And there are a few bad lines in this show. And, you know, even though I didn't really care much for the villains, the way they died, it was just kind of anticlimactic. It was just kind of like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think my biggest issue with the show was just, like, weirdly enough, like, the plot. Like, I think this is a weird complaint, but I think it could have benefited from less plot. Like, I loved all the stuff with Kamala and her friends and her family and just her character and what she was going through. But when it got to the actual, like, oh, now I've got to be a superhero, now I've got to do all this stuff, it just kind of lost me. It just felt like generic superhero storytelling, and that was disappointing to me. I still think there's a lot of potential with this character. I really want to see what they do with her in the Marvels and other stuff. It seems to me like they're building up to the Young Avengers because, I mean, think about it. Kid Loki, you got Isaiah, Falcon Winter Soldier, you got Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel, America Chavez. I mean, come on. Oh, Billy and Tommy, come on. It seems like a no-brainer to me. But anyways, the finale, despite my complaints with it, I liked how it all wrapped up. It was satisfying. I don't want to sound like I hated this show, because I didn't hate it. Even episodes 4 and 5, I still enjoyed them on some level, because I like this show, and I like this world. I just wish that the actual plot, like the actual like thing Kamala had to accomplish, was more interesting. Because as it stands, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. I think Marvel shows, like, I genuinely hope She-Hulk is just kind of like a really funny legal comedy. It can have a plot, but I hope it doesn't become like a serious, oh, I've got to save the world kind of thing. Like, I hope it's just a funny legal comedy, you know, where She-Hulk breaks the fourth wall and just does goofy shit every episode. Because that's what She-Hulk was in the comics, you know? I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Like, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll get to the big reveals in the finale. Number 1, mutants. So, they say the word mutation, but, yeah, I mean, so Bruno, he goes up to Kamala and he's like, I was checking your DNA, and it's something strange. It's almost like a mutation. And then he looks in the camera and he's like, he name drops it. He's like, I gotta say that so people know what I'm talking about. Mutation. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. I guess they're bringing in mutants. Kamala is not an Inhuman in this show. She is a mutant. And that's fine with me. I know, you know, in the comics she was an Inhuman, and I know all 8 Inhuman fans are gonna be like, what the fuck? They're fucking erasing the Inhumans? What the hell? In my head, I always thought the Inhumans were lame-ass characters. You see, in the comics for a while, because the X-Men was owned by Fox, Marvel was trying to push the Inhumans as, like, the new X-Men, but everybody thought it was stupid, so nobody gave a shit. But now that they have the X-Men back, Marvel doesn't give a shit about the Inhumans anymore. So Kamala is no longer an Inhuman. She's a mutant, and that's fine with me. You know, I don't know like what mutants is gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be X-Men or something else, but it's cool. It's neat. It's fine. It's a good little small start for something big. That's fine with me. Next up, credit scene. Captain Marvel. I don't know what happened there. Looks to me like she kind of switched places with Kamala. Wherever she was, Kamala's at now. And I guess that's where the Marvels will pick up. That was neat. I mean, I fully expected Captain Marvel from the first episode. I fully expected Captain Marvel to show up. So it wasn't really surprising to me, but I was still like, cool. I like Captain Marvel. Cool. I'm excited. So, yeah. Like I said, final thoughts. I like this show. I enjoyed it. I think if every episode was like episode 1 and 2 and a little bit of 3, I would have enjoyed the show more. Another dumb thing I forgot to mention, this is a quick thing, but basically the Jinn, they go up to Kamala and they're like, yo, we got to get back home. We were banished, so we need your help to take us home. And Kamala's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll help you. I just got to go do this one thing really quick. And they're like, oh yeah, cool, cool, cool. And then like 1 hour later, they're all like, that bitch is taking way too long. We're going to go try and kill her and her whole family. And that was a little weird to me. I was like, you really? You've waited how many years? And you can't wait one more day? Come on. That was just me. But anyways, yeah, I did like this show. I enjoyed it. I do want to see a season 2. Um, I really love Kamala. I think she's one of the more endearing characters that has been introduced in Phase 4. Um, yeah, Phase 4 has been received it's been very up and down with a lot of people. Some people like some stuff, some people hate other stuff. For me, I feel like Marvel now feels like we're in the bonus rounds. After Endgame, it feels like everything coming after this is just like DLC. You know what I mean? And I guess they're building up to this big multiverse Kang Young Avengers thing. But I don't know. I kind of take every Marvel thing now as like, I don't know. Like I feel like when I read comics, right? I'm very picky with my comics. Like, oh, I'm in the mood for a Thor story. I'll get this trade. Oh, I'm in the mood for an X-Men story. That's how I feel with Marvel stuff. Like, oh, a new fucking, I don't know. A new Ant-Man movie's coming out. Oh, cool. I like Ant-Man. I'll go watch it. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, I need to know how the fucking story continues, you know? Like, if you can make a great story, then yeah, awesome. But I'm not in a place where I'm actively looking forward to Marvel stuff as much as I used to. I'm just sort of like, okay, cool, you know? I realize what I said just made no sense, but let me put it this way. If you told me, hey, Thor 5's coming out, I'm not going to be waiting every day being like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm just going to be like, oh, cool. And then I watch it and I'm like, that was fun. But I think what Marvel needs to do is I think they need to stop focusing on trying to build towards one big event. I think every story should be its own self-contained story. Yes, it's all one universe, but it doesn't need to all cross over anymore. I think it's fine if we just have stuff be on its own. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, have a universe, but you don't need everything to cross over. Like, I don't think Moon Knight should ever cross over with anything. I think Moon Knight should just stay in his own lane. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I think this show is kind of the same deal. They want to connect it to the X-Men. They want to have this big superhero thing where, oh, I've got to save the world now. But it's like, it doesn't have to be that. You could just make a show about this girl who's becoming a superhero, and you could just make it about her learning and her family and how she deals with it. You know what I mean? You don't need to make everything, oh, now I've got to save the world. Like, Moon Knight started out like a really cool psychological thriller, and then it turned into fucking Godzilla versus Kong in the end. It was fucking stupid. Shang-Chi didn't need to connect itself to the Avengers. It could have just been a story about a father and son and that conflict. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Marvel stuff needs to connect as much as it used to. Like, I think it would be fine if they made more self-contained stories, like DC is doing. Yeah, they have their own universe. Like, the DC Extended Universe is a universe, but all the movies coming out feel like they're sort of in their own stories. Like, Shazam right now is in the same universe as the Suicide Squad. But are you ever going to see Shazam and the Suicide Squad cross over? No. But those are both really good movies that stand on their own. They're in the same universe, sure, but they don't need to cross over. They can stay in their own lane, and they can tell their own stories. And that's what I think Marvel needs to do. If this show was just Miss Marvel, you know, just fucking doing shit. Like, I know that's like a weird thing to say, but I really think this show should have been just a nice coming of age show about this girl and her family and her life, and that would have been more interesting than, oh, now I've got to save my city from from this guy who is evil now, even though that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, his mom died. I guess I'd get it. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Um, but in the end, I like Miss Marvel. I like the show. I'd probably give it a 6 or a 7. If the whole show was as good as episode 1 and 2, I'd probably give it an 8, and I'd probably feel a lot more towards it. But as it stands, you know, it's good. It's a little disappointing, but I liked it. I like this show. It's cute. At best, it's a really, really charming and endearing story. And at worst, it's just kind of a generic superhero TV show. So yeah, that's how I feel. I like the show. I like it more than I dislike it. Really, just episodes 5 and 4 are kind of where it fumbled for me a bit. The rest of the show I enjoyed. So yeah, Miss Marvel. The next show is She-Hulk, which again, I hope that show is just a nice little goofy legal comedy. It doesn't need to be there doesn't need to be a big action scene in the show. I hope the climax of that show and the season finale is just like a courtroom scene, like chicanery. You know what I mean? Anyways, the next review is probably coming this weekend, and it's going to be for a new hit movie. And you probably know what it is, but I'm not going to say. But if you can guess what it is, congratulations. I was trying to think of a funny joke, but I can't think of anything funny to say. Anyways, love y'all.